Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'll be showing you how to code up a Bollinger Band. Visually, this is what Bollinger Bands look like. It's essentially a indicator that has an upper band, a lower band, and a middle band, which is the simple moving average. It's one of the classic indicators that you can use to add to your strategy. So let's get started. So essentially, the Bollinger Bands are three indicators. As I said before, there's a middle band, and that's just a simple moving average. And there's an upper band and a lower band. And the calculation for the upper band and lower band is just a certain amount of standard deviations above and below the middle band. So let's start off importing all the required libraries that we need for our script. So we want pandas, some functions that I made beforehand, and we want the strategy and backtest from Backtesting.py. So once we've created the indicator, I'll be also showing you how to write the code for a backtest. So then you can have a play around with it yourself and create your own strategy. So first, let's import the data. So once we have the data set imported, let's have a look at the data set. So here we're just running the scripts, and yep, it's printed out the data set fine. So then we can move on to writing the indicators. Essentially, we're just adding three columns, the upper band, the middle band, and the lower band. So let's start off with the middle band. We want to create a new column called middle band, and then we want to have the close, and this is actually essentially the SMA. So we want to take the close over a rolling period. Now let's just say the length would be 5. We wanted to find the mean over the 5-day period. So for the two bands, we want to have usually a 2 standard deviation above the middle band. So we want to get the values from the middle band that we've just created above. And for the upper band, we're adding 2 standard deviations above the SMA. So for this, we will want to first calculate the 2 standard deviation. And for that, we can use a pandas built-in function for the standard deviation. And then we want to multiply by 2. And the same thing for the lower band, but this time we want to be 2 standard deviations below the SMA. So it'll be the same thing. We first take the middle band and we minus 2 standard deviations of the rolling period. So data frame, we want a close value, rolling period of 5 or the specified length. And then we want to get this standard deviation times 2. So yeah, this is pretty much the calculation for the Bollinger Bands. Let's have a look at the dataset. So here we're just running the script again, and there you have it. We can see that we created 3 more columns, and each column is actually the indicator that creates the Bollinger Band. And now that we know we have a working calculation for the Bollinger Bands, we can create a backtest. And we start off with creating the middle band. For the middle band, we want the value and the length. And then we want to return a PD series, taking in the value of the dataset. And just like the calculations that we just did, we just get the rolling and we find the mean. So essentially, we're just replicating the calculations that we just did, but now we have to manipulate it so it works for Backtesting.py. For the upper band, we want to first get the middle value, which is the SMA. And then we want the value, which is the close, and the length. Then we want to return the middle, which is the SMA plus 2 standard deviations. And for the lower band, same thing, but just 2 standard deviations below the SMA. And there we go, we have the functions for the indicator defined. And now we want to make a class of Bollinger Band, which extends the strategy class. And for this, let's just make a 20-day variable. So for the init, we want to initialize all 3 bands as an indicator for Backtesting.py. To do that, we want to first have the middle band. So for the middle band, we want to have self.i, and then we take in the middle band function, and then the function requires a close, which is the self.data.close, and then it requires the length. And then for the upper band and middle band, we first want to have the upper band function, and then since it takes in the SMA, we want to reference the middle band indicator that we've just created above, and then you want self data.close, and then the length. Same thing for the lower band, but just using the lower band function. So now that we've initialized all the indicators, we can create the next function where we put in our buy and sell logic. So for this test, we're just going to sell when we're above the upper band and buy when we're below the lower band. So we want to do self.data.high that's greater and equal than self.upper band, and if that is the case, we want to first close out all the positions, and then we want to have a sell. As for the buying condition, we want to only buy when the low is less than or equal to the lower band, and if that's the case, we close out any positions and we buy. And there we have it. This is pretty much our backtest. So let's run our backtest with a cash amount of $1 million and a commission of 2%, and then we can just print out the stats. And we'll also print out plot to see our equity curve and to see how a strategy is buying and selling. So we run the script, and there we go. Turns out this strategy is incredibly not profitable, so I definitely not recommend you using this strategy. But then again, I just wanted to show you how we could simply build out a Bollinger Band backtest. And then you can have a play around with it and add in your own little variables and little tweaks to your strategy so that you can find your own edge. And here is the equity curve. And it's always nice to plot out a chart because we can see whether or not our indicator and strategy is actually working, so we can visually see it and debug if there's any issues. So yeah, this is all I want to show you. Thanks for watching.